Hey, what's going on, folks? The social, political, and economic lynching of Kanye West continues.
A billionaire who we watched come up out of Chicago. Not only that, so here go Ye, he stand up. We all saying, yeah, he right. But boy, when they grab that baddest, that's always been a tactic. You take the baddest, bring him out in front of all the slaves, and you tie him up and you whoop him, 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 and you keep whooping him in front of all these slaves. This y'all baddest one, y'all richest one, he gonna stand up to us, and we all sit there and watch. Don't nobody join in. No celebrity.
With people trying to even blacklist his friend Candace Owens and condemn her for simply being friends with Kanye West. Dennis Prager of PragerU came to her defense, but I find his article very weak, very disingenuous, and he's being the exact type of hypocrite that he constantly talks about in the left, using the word anti-Semitism to quash any discussion that he's not honest enough to talk about. And Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire gets in a "you're an anti-Semite" fight with Josh Hammer, who's saying you're anti-Semitic to Candace Owens, because that's what the right wing is now. They're a bunch of left-wing style snowflakes that just say anti-Semite, anti-Semite, anti-Semite when they can't intellectually discuss important events. I'm gonna show receipts and keep it 100% raw and real in this video. No hate, all love, the truth will set us free, and free speech heals racial tension more than political correctness and using words like anti-Semitic to cry about literally everything under the sun. Show starts now.
The Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we're going to talk about Dennis Prager rushing to the defense, of Candace Owens because they're trying to basically blacklist and ruin Candace Owens for the crime of being Kanye West's friend. So not only is Kanye getting economically, socially, and politically outcasted, but now they're coming for anybody who defends him, anybody who's friends with him. And I have to just point out the hypocrisy that's going on in the right wing. I understand a lot of people are tired of hearing about this, but if you don't understand this topic that I'm going to tell you about, you're never going to understand anything in American politics. You're never going to understand how the right wing works, how America works. This is probably the most important topic that nobody on the right wing wants to talk about because a lot of these right wing organizations will blacklist you and they scare their audience into thinking that it's not okay to talk about this. So let's get into it real quick. So first, before we talk about the Dennis Prager article, I'm going to read it aloud and react to it live. I haven't read the full thing, just half of it. This is a former employee of Daily Wire. I don't know, no offense, any of these people when it comes to this guy. He was just smearing Candace as an anti-Semite. He said, I didn't have Kanye West and Candace Owens both going Louis Farrakhan in my October 2022 bingo card, but here we are, I suppose. I mean, if only Candace Owens worked for a prominent public-facing Orthodox Jew. Oh, wait, it has now been over 24 hours since Ben Shapiro has not uttered a peep, so he's saying Candace is Farrakhan, anti-Semitic, wah, 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 I'm Josh Hammer. And then he came out, and Ben Shapiro did actually condemn Kanye, but he said it doesn't go nearly far enough. So for a long story short, that's a former Daily Wire employee smearing Candace Owens at Daily Wire. He's a Jewish guy, Josh Hammer. She's an anti-Semite. He's an anti-Semite. It's all anti-Semitic. We need to condemn this. So Jeremy Boring, he's the Daily Wire, I think, CEO. He said it's obvious that Josh Hammer keeps encouraging attacks on Ben Shapiro because of a personal vendetta. And then Jeremy Boring calls Josh Hammer an anti-Semite. And the text message, he said something about like shekels, and he made a joke saying that Daily Wire was controlled by the shekels. So I just want to, before I get into the Prager thing, I have to break this down for people to really understand. We're going to lose everything in this country if people don't get this basic concept. If you don't have free speech for all, you don't have free speech. And when it comes to the right wing, their crutch is the word anti-Semitism. So you have a Jewish writer calling Daily Wire anti-Semitic. Now Ben Shapiro's an anti-Semite because he won't condemn Kanye enough. Candace Owens is Louis Farrakhan. Now Jeremy Boring is firing back. No, you, the Jewish writer, you're an anti-Semite because you made a joke about shekels. So jokes are allowed, but not jokes about shekels. That's anti-Semitism. But also, Ben Shapiro's an anti-Semite and Kanye West is a Nazi. I mean, words don't mean anything if people are going to be this dishonest on the right wing, and they do exactly what the left does with racist, sexist, xenophobe. Instead of intellectually dissecting what's going on and speaking the truth about it, they just overuse the word anti-Semitic. So at this point, anybody with half a brain shouldn't take that word seriously anymore. Not because it didn't at one point mean something, but at this point, it's being overused and destroyed. And this is my call for PragerU. Real quick, I'm going to play this clip. Not me. This is an Israeli woman, Jewish woman. She was a former education minister in Israel. She says what she thinks the word anti-Semitism means. So I know if I said this, I know Prager would probably cry and say it's World War II all over again and it's anti-Semitism and he just can't stand to hear it. But this is a Jewish Israeli woman who's saying this. So what say you, Dennis Prager? What say you? Now, Shulamit Aloni was the former education minister of Israel, an Israeli politician, founder of the Rats Party, leader of the Meretz Party, leader of the opposition from 1988 to 1990, served as the minister of education, and even won the Israel Prize. Hear what she says about the word anti-Semitism and how it's used to quash criticism.
Often when there is dissent expressed in the United States against policies of the Israeli government, people here are called anti-Semitic. What is your response to that as an Israeli Jew?
Well, it's a trick. We always use it. When from Europe somebody is criticizing Israel, then we bring up the Holocaust. When in this country people are criticizing Israel, then there are anti-Semitic. And the organization is strong and has a lot of money, and the ties between Israel and the American Jewish establishment are very strong, and they are strong in this country. As you know, they have power, which it's okay. They are talented people and they have power, money, and media and other things. And their attitude is Israel, my country, right or wrong, the identification. And they are not ready to hear criticism. And it's very easy to blame people who criticize certain acts of the Israeli government as anti-Semitics, and to bring up the Holocaust and the suffering of the Jewish people, and that justify everything we do to the Palestinians.
So that's just one perspective, but she's won an Israel award before. She served the government of Israel. She said that it's a trick we use. We just call everything anti-Semitic to quash criticism of Israel. And she also said that a lot of Jewish people have a lot of power in media. What you're going to find out is in the first paragraph of the Dennis Prager defense of Candace Owens, I'm going to read his article aloud. He says that Kanye West is anti-Semitic for saying exactly what that Israeli woman says. So Dennis Prager believes in no safe spaces, and he's not about, calling everything racist, but he actually is, and I'll tell you later how he supports speech laws on college campuses in America. But before we read this article, I will get into this. I want to play a clip real quick from AIPAC. It's American Israeli Political Action Committee. Most foreign lobbying, whether it be Russia, Saudi Arabia, even Britain, Canada, most foreign lobbying is looked down upon in America. It's like, don't let a foreign country, regardless of how good of friends you are with them or how much you love that country, don't let them lobby your own country like Big Pharma and pay off the politicians. You would think this was a smear video that someone created that's anti-Semitic, but it's actually not. It's a video that AIPAC themselves uploaded to their own YouTube and Twitter page to show people we lobby left-wingers, right-wingers, Obama, Trump. It doesn't matter who you put in office. We pay all of them. This is their video. I didn't make this. They made it themselves. Take a look.
Please welcome Senate Democratic leader,
the Senate Republican leader.
Please welcome Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Please welcome Secretary of State.
I'm honored to introduce the Vice President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Please welcome back to the apex stage the Prime Minister of Israel.
From day one, Israel found itself in a unique alliance.
The alliance between Israel and the United States of America.
In the United States, our support for Israel is bipartisan, and that is how it should stay.
Our strategic ally, our unbreakable friendship.
America is safer when we stand with Israel.
Because if you care about American security, you must care about Israel's security.
My friends,
America and Israel
need you more today
than ever before.
May God bless Israel.
And may God bless the United States of America.
Thank you.
So that's a foreign lobbying organization in America. It's an American organization for foreign Israeli lobbyists. And they're bragging about, like, we control all your politicians. So if I was to say Israel controls America, which is obviously true, that would be hate speech. Dennis Prager would be like, oh my gosh, they're bragging about it. I don't know any other foreign lobby, even our best friends in Europe, that would make a video like that, because nobody else really can do that, because no one has that much power. But then, of course, it's hate speech to even suggest that that's happening. Should we call it anti-pharmatic? I want to ask you a question. Big Pharma lobbies Democrats and Republicans. Let's start calling it anti-pharmatic. If you say that Big Pharma is paying off politicians to lobby for their own causes, that's anti-pharmatic. It's the anti-Semitic of pharma. So you cannot talk about Big Pharma because that's anti-pharmatic, and it really hurts my feelings, and I don't want anyone to talk about lobbying. Whether it's domestic or foreign lobbying, it's hate speech in my opinion, because I consider any truth about Big Pharma lobbying your politicians as anti-pharmatic. Okay? Let's read this article real quick by Dennis Prager. It's called Kanye West, Anti-Semitism, and Candace Owens. So he's trying to defend Candace Owens here because he likes Candace Owens, and I believe Candace deserves to be defended. She's not an anti-Semite. Candace Owens is not anti-Semitic. Candace doesn't even share Kanye's views, as far as I know. She could speak for herself, but this is the game that they're trying to play now. If you're friends with somebody that we consider anti-Semitic, not only are we not going to explain why what he's saying is wrong or really make a good point, we're going to smear you. So now it's like, if you're a Trump supporter and you're friends with a Trump supporter, it's like, this is the game we're playing. People aren't allowed to be friends with people who've said mean things in podcasts. It's absolutely insane. And by the way, Dennis Prager got lit up by people saying Dennis should have condemned Candace Owens. They're like, how dare you, Dennis Prager, to stand up for Candace Owens? She's an anti-Semite. She's Louis Farrakhan. It's insane. All right, let's read this article real quick, okay? It's called Kanye West, Anti-Semitism, and Candace Owens by Dennis Prager, who, by the way, I like him, nice guy, was really good early on in the lockdown. I appreciate his perspective. Let's read the article. Dennis writes, let's begin with an indisputable fact. What Kanye, aka Ye, is saying about Jews is anti-Semitic. Why? Because the Jews run everything is pure libel. That's why Jews are not paranoid in being deeply troubled by such sentiments. If widely believed, they will almost inevitably lead to persecution of Jews. So Dennis Prager wants to start this article off and say, it's indisputable. Of course Dennis Prager won't debate me. Of course Ben Shapiro won't debate me. Of course none of their little minions will debate me. Nobody wants to debate me. 3 years. They've been passing anti-Semitism speech laws against our Constitution in America for years. Since 2019, Republicans have been passing anti-First Amendment, anti-free speech, anti-protest laws in America. Nobody wants to debate me on it. They just want to sell out our Constitution, sell out America, and cry anti-Semitism when someone has an alternate perspective on literally the First Amendment of the Constitution. Doesn't mean I hate Israel or I hate Jewish people. It means I believe in the First Amendment for my race and my religion and yours. I know you like to have this special privilege over everybody, Dennis Prager, but unlike you, I actually prioritize America and our First Amendment. I know you don't. I know you're lying about it. No, he won't have a conversation or debate about it, but everybody's anti-Semitic. And he said specifically the part that, he had a problem with is by saying the Jews run everything, which I don't know if he actually said that, but maybe he did. Let me give you an example real quick. What if I said in the NBA that black people run the NBA and black people are dominating the NBA? Would that make me a racist for complimenting them on their power in the NBA? Of course not. Is it true? It's also not true. The MVP of the NBA was Nikola Jokic, who is a Serbian player, a white guy. He was the MVP. So technically, black people are not, dominating completely. There are white people who are dominating, but on average, you do notice there is a lot of black dominance. I know that instead of telling the truth about this, Dennis Prager wants to be a little shifty speech censor and cry racism when you notice, but Jewish people do have a lot of power and influence in media, including him and the left wing, and they do have a lot of influence in almost everything. I would say they're not 100% of everything. It's not like they run everything all the time, but to deny that Jewish people have influence in America and they have leadership positions in most tech companies, most major everything, you know what I'm saying? They're a very successful ethnic/religious group, which I'm not trying to take away anything. I consider it a compliment, but that's where he's at right now. Dennis Prager thinks it's anti-Semitism for you to even compliment or slightly exaggerate about their power. So in Dennis Prager's mind, that will lead to the persecution of his people. Not the fact that Dennis Prager has no self-awareness and self-accountability. Dennis Prager will go on his platform and preach to black people, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Stop using the past to, as a crutch. But he doesn't actually apply those same standards to himself. He doesn't think that self-accountability and self-awareness in the Jewish world matters. In fact, he wants to prove that Kanye's wrong by doing exactly what Kanye says he's doing. Kanye feels like, whether it's true or not, he feels like Jewish people in the entertainment industry and the media are colluding against him. So how Prager and Ben Shapiro prove that they're not colluding against him is they start to collude against him and call him an anti-Semite and smear him as basically a Nazi or Louis Farrakhan. And that's not really doing yourself any favors. So sorry if this hurts Dennis Prager's feelings, but just like you tell black people that you're not the eternal victim, just like you tell black people that black people sold black people into slavery, Jewish people were involved in the slave trade as well, and Jewish people are not completely innocent in human history of all time. And right now, if your way of saying that you're afraid of people persecuting you is by taking no accountability, telling everyone else to take accountability, and crying racism and anti-Semitism at a comment, and supporting anti-free speech laws in this country, maybe you need self-accountability and self-awareness. Maybe just like with black people in America, maybe that's lacking in the Jewish community. Sorry, Dennis Prager, I think it is. I think self-awareness and self-accountability is something that you don't want. You only want to use your group as a shield and a victim card, but when it comes time to admit certain influence that's happening, although it's not your fault specifically, you fail to even notice it and you just cry racism and anti-Semitism. To me, that's the biggest issue right now in his community, is the fact that they take zero self-awareness, zero self-accountability, and instead of not being sneaky in this case, he wants to basically call you a racist or an anti-Semite if you say he's being sneaky. It's like, I'm not going to earn your respect. I'm not going to tell the truth. I'm going to ban you from saying the truth. I'm going to call you names. It's very disingenuous. It's very low. I can't stand it. And I believe, I'm going to play this clip from this guy in the hip hop industry. He's like a raw street guy. I think his name is Charleston White. He's talking about the economic and social lynching of Kanye West. And I mean, although you could say this is an exaggeration, but I do think this is a good analogy to what Dennis Prager, Ben Shapiro, left-wing media, and the hip-hop culture is doing to him. I think they are socially, politically, and economically lynching him on a world stage to show everybody else, employees at TPUSA, employees at PragerU, Candace Owens, even one of the most powerful black women in the world. Candace, you better talk about the blacks in America pulling themselves up by their bootstrap. But if you dare ever talk about my people, we will treat you like Kanye. I do believe this is the message that they're sending. So I don't like it.
A billionaire who we watch come up out of Chicago. Not only that, the only who I've ever seen advocate for Larry Hoover to be free.
That's true.
The only entertainer I ever seen advocate for Larry Hoover to be free. Lil Durk ain't done it. So here go Ye, he stand up. We all saying, yeah, he right. But boy, when they grab that baddest, that's always been a tactic. You take the baddest, bring him out in front of all the slaves, and you tie him up and you whoop him, 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 and you keep whooping him, in front of all these slaves. This y'all baddest one, y'all richest one. He gonna stand up to us, and we all sit there and watch. Don't nobody join in. No celebrity, no entertainer. Jay-Z punk ass turned on him. They whooping him. They putting them lashes on his back. Then he find out, Toby, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. They still whooping him. I'm sorry. They still whooping him. And he's still saying, I'm sorry. They won't stop whooping him. And we ain't said that's enough.
That, say what you want about how he said it, that's what I see going on. They're making an example out of Kanye, trying to isolate him from Candace Owens, his friend, and being like, Candace, if you ever even go 1/8 of the route that Kanye West did, that's what's going to happen to you. If you're black and you're in the hip-hop industry, they want you to sell drugs, they want you to talk about black murder music, push abortions, go on stage for Hillary Clinton and Stacey Abrams, that's fine. But black entertainer, if you ever do 1/8 of what Kanye does, that's what we're going to do to you. And I know people that work at Prager, Daily Wire, I know it all. They know what they can't talk about. They know what would get them blacklisted. You think people don't know what I'm saying? Of course they do. I'm the truth. I walk into these things, people, anomaly, let me take a picture. I like you. You know, they're just like left-wingers at a left-wing organization where it's like, I can't say the truth or else, they're going to fire me. It's the same. There's that same sort of mafioso energy going on at a lot of these right-wing organizations too, which is you get on your knees and you grovel to Israel and Jewish people, and you never question a single thing that they're ever doing ever, because they are, will call you names and destroy your life like they're doing to Kanye West. That's not to blame everybody. I have no hate in my heart. I've never said anything negative about the people of Israel. It's not what I'm doing. I'm just pointing out the insane double standards. All right, let's read this article a little bit, and I have more clips. So this is Dennis Prager, who called Kanye West a anti-Semitic. It's indisputable. Dennis Prager, send me your smartest person that works for PragerU. Don't act like I'm not, well, you're too small, we don't care. I'm bigger than most of your personalities. You dump a bunch of advertising money into your little minions and they're still not as popular as me. So I'm not doing it to brag. I'm just saying I'm not irrelevant, okay? I have almost 1 billion views. So if you don't want to debate me, or Ben Shapiro doesn't want to debate me, or any of these other people that work for you don't want to debate me, I know there was some guy that was like, I don't want to do, of course you don't want to debate, but it's not indisputable. You're completely wrong. And it's your snowflake safe space mentality that is going to get your own people in trouble. And it's also just a bad look for your own ethnic group. It would be like me telling a black rapper that it's cool to rap about drugs and guns and murder, but it's not cool to have self-accountability. It goes for every ethnic group, mine and yours. Self-awareness and self-accountability is important. And when you have none and just cry racist or anti-Semitism at the drop of a hat, it doesn't do yourself any favor. And I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable. I don't want there to be racial tension in the world. But using the word racist doesn't end racial tension. You overusing the word anti-Semite. Ben Shapiro's an anti-Semite. Josh Hammer's an anti-Semite. Daily Wire's an anti-Semite. Candace Owens is Louis Farrakhan. Kanye West. That's not helping heal racial tension and ethnic tension. It's making the country worse on all fronts when left-wingers do it or right-wingers do it. My goal is to heal racial tension, not to just keep piling on. So let's keep reading this article. He supports Candace Owens, but he just keeps bashing Kanye West. And Dennis Prager, you don't know what you're talking about, and you're a joker. He says, now turn to the matter of Candace Owens. For those who don't know who she is, Candace is a brilliant and charismatic black woman with a very large following. The left hates her because she's a black conservative and, even worse, a supporter of Donald Trump. In the eyes of the left, including the current president of the United States, Trump supporters, often referred to as MAGA people, are either out and out fascists or semi-fascists. I mean, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he starts to compliment Candace Owens. Let me get to a more interesting point. He said, in her attempt to lead blacks away from the Democrats, Owens befriended Kanye West, the best-known rapper in the country, and indeed, as he is now known, became a Trump supporter. Needless to say, the Democrats and the rest of the left hate Candace. It's true. Democrats loathe every black individual who isn't a Democrat. True. But blacks who convince other blacks to leave the Democratic Party are held in special contempt, as are those whom the leftists they hate. All right, let me get to this part. He says, in addition to racist, homophobe, Islamophobe, xenophobe, transphobe, fascist, and sexist, anti-Semite is often used to smear opponents of the left. For example, almost any time a non-Jew attacks George Soros, a man with no Jewish identity who is among the most destructive people to ever live in America, they are labeled with anti-Semitic. That's true. Prager says, even I have been labeled an anti-Semite, and I am a Jew who has devoted much of his life to the Jewish people. I may have brought more Jews to Judaism than any living Jew. Co-authored with Rabbi Joseph Telushkin, the most widely read English language introduction to Judaism, introduced hundreds of thousands of Christians to Judaism, taken thousands of Christians to Israel, we know, wrote 3 volumes of a 5-volume commentary on the Torah, and made PragerU the most widely viewed pro-Israel video ever made. So in this article, PragerU admits, or Dennis Prager admits, I've even been called an anti-Semite. So you would think somebody that's been called an anti-Semite wouldn't want to just loosely throw the word around willy-nilly when somebody says that his people have power in certain industries. But here's the interesting part about him talking about how pro-Israel he is. And this is the part that really, really, really bothers me. He's defending his friend Candace Owens because she used to work there, and Candace is a nice woman who's not anti-Semitic. Kanye is also not anti-Semitic, but that's fine. You can call him that. I don't think he cares. But long story short, he admits how pro-Israel he is. Here's where it gets very, very weird. And this is the part that really bothers me. I just want to show you this right here. This is Ben Shapiro. He says American Jews, whether ethnic or religious, are loyal to America, not Israel. Saying that they're not, any loyalty supposition is anti-Semitic. So Ben Shapiro is going out and saying every American Jew, doesn't matter if they're ethnic like George Soros or religious like me, they're loyal to America, not Israel. It's anti-Semitism to say that any Jew in America might be loyal to Israel. And of course, Prager's writing this article. He's like, I'm the most pro-Israel person in America. So if I were to say that Prager has more loyalty to Israel than America, I'm not saying it's true, but if I were to say it, that would be anti-Semitic. So imagine, I have to try to really break this down to people because it's showing how sneaky Ben Shapiro is, and then he wants to say it's anti-Semitic to call him sneaky. Ben, you're sneaky. Not all Jewish people, you're a sneak, okay? Imagine if I said, I'm Italian. Every Italian person in America has loyalty to America, not Italy. Anybody who says any Italian in the world, anybody, including Chris Cuomo, anybody, has more loyalty to another country, you're an anti-Italian. And that's a hate speech crime. That's an offense. We're going to get into that later. Imagine if I said I'm a Christian. Every Catholic and Christian in the world has more loyalty to America and not the Vatican. Any loyalty suppositions to assume that a Catholic has more loyalty to the Vatican or a Christian has more loyalty to the Vatican, that's anti-Catholicism. He's screaming, I'm covering for my people. I'm going to say all of my people would never have. We know that that's a lie. Of course, it's not true to every Jewish person. There's a lot of Jewish people who don't like Israel at all. Read that again. He's saying every American Jew, whether ethnic or religious, are loyal to America. That's a false statement. Not all. They're not all. There's no group that has every single person in the group loyal to America over their foreign country. That's not true. But what's crazier about this, guys, this is a speech law being passed into legislation by Republicans. This is not just Ben Shapiro's opinion. It's word for word a speech law that goes against the First Amendment that Dennis Prager supports, Ben Shapiro supports, TPUSA supports, or we'll never talk about, Donald Trump passed into legislation, and Ron DeSantis passed into legislation. They have this whole group of anti-Semitism speech laws. And when you oppose them and say, I don't think it's a good idea to basically make it a hate speech offense to suggest that any Jewish person in America has loyalty to Israel, they'll call you an anti-Semite. And in some cases, it's not even legal in this country. Trump passed an executive order that said you can't protest against Israel on a college campus. I don't protest Israel on a college campus, but if you don't believe in the right for everyone to protest, you don't get it. If you read these anti-Semitic speech laws that are on the State Department website, they say you can't say the Jews killed Jesus. I don't know who killed Jesus. I wasn't alive then. Some people think it was some Jewish people. Some people think it was the Romans. It's not every Jewish person's fault, and it's not every Roman person. I don't blame Italy for killing Jesus, but that's the story that most people believe in. I don't know. Some say it's them. Some say it's them. You could say, my race killed Jesus. I don't really care. I'm not a speech sucker. I don't suck speech out of America and then cry anti-Semitism. So I don't know what that feels like to undermine the country I live in and cry hate speech. With that being said, on the State Department website, it says that it's an anti-Semitic hate speech offense to say that Jews killed Jesus. That exact legislation got passed through Florida schools, and Donald Trump passed an executive order. Also in that, it said you can't talk about blood libel. Also in that, it said you can't make mendacious claims about Jewish people owning media. So that's why they're freaking out about Kanye West, because it's not that there is no collusion going on or it's a conspiracy theory. It's true. I'm not saying everybody's in on it or Dennis Prager's a bad person and he's never done anything good, but that type of conspiracy that's going on in Kanye's head is literally happening in this country. Democrats are passing speech laws for Israel and religious and non-religious Jews. So even George Soros, who Prager said is not his best friend, he's protected under those speech laws because it's not even just for a religion. It's also for the ethnic group that's atheist. It's also for the country, no matter what they do. So these laws are being passed into legislation by Republicans and Democrats, and nobody talks about it. There's a blackout at TPUSA. There's a blackout at PragerU. I wonder why. PragerU, as Republicans are passing speech laws to say you're not allowed, it is now a hate speech offense to make claims about Jewish people owning leadership. I wonder why Dennis Prager, who's right-wing, no safe space, free speech guy, is calling that anti-Semitism to suggest that his people own ownership in media. It's an anti-Semitic hate speech offense as that's getting passed into legislation. Guys, it's deeper than my opinion. It's deeper than what Kanye West said. It's deeper than the lies that Ben Shapiro tells. It's deeper than the cover-ups that Dennis Prager does and cries hate speech. This is a speech law that is being passed through American government in multiple states, on multiple college campuses, executive orders being passed across the whole country by not just Democrats, but also Republicans. I showed people at the beginning of the video that AIPAC brags about lobbying both of our politicians. I'm going to show you guys a little more, and before I do this, I don't have to do this, but I'm going to explain myself. I believe in the First Amendment. Christians, Muslims, Jews, I would love to have a word. I believe that a lot of people are destroying Christianity. I think that a lot of people are trying to destroy a lot of things that I love. But if I want to say that those people are trying to hurt me, I don't have a word to just write off any sort of criticism of my religion or my race. So I think it's fair, if we're going to be the United States of America and not the United States of Israel, I think it's fair to say, hey, the First Amendment is a pretty good law. We shouldn't get censored for Pfizer. We shouldn't get censored for racism or sexism or all these words that can expand and contract whenever they want. And anti-Semitism is another one of those words. If you don't believe what I'm saying, Google anti-Semitism State Department laws and go to their website where it says anti-Semitism rules or laws. Read all those laws. Tell me if you agree that those are getting passed into Florida schools, passed into college campuses in executive order, and they're trying to pass them more and more. And Charlie Kirk, Dennis Prager, and Ben Shapiro either support them completely and think it's fine to infringe on the First Amendment for Israel, or act like it doesn't exist at all. Complete blackout. And anybody like me, I'm considered taboo now because I tell the truth, and their employees know if they ever pull an anomaly and speak the truth about this, even if it's calm and reasonable and they don't hate anybody, they know that their job's in jeopardy. Okay, it's been like this for 3 years. Real quick, I want to show you a video of Nancy Pelosi saying, if the Capitol crumbles to the ground. Okay, I don't care if this was for Saudi Arabia, for Iran, Yemen, Israel, Canada, Italy, Britain. It's very bizarre that there's a politician on stage saying, if my Capitol crumbles, we'll still be sucking out taxpayer money and giving it to you. Just letting you know, I don't care what happens to my country. Take my money. I mean, that's the message I'm getting here. Let's take a watch.
I have said to people when they ask me, if this Capitol crumbled to the ground, the one thing that would remain is our commitment to our aid, and I don't even call it aid, our cooperation with Israel. That's fundamental to fundamental.
So Nancy Pelosi wants you to know, even if the American Capitol crumbles to the ground, even if there's nothing left of our country, nothing, we'll still be taking taxpayer money and giving it to your country because that's who we are. But if you notice that we're doing that, we're going to claim that you hate all people when you don't. Let's look at, he just passed away a couple years ago. Rest in peace, Sheldon Adelson. God bless you, my brother, and God bless your family. I mean that. With that being said, here's the #1 Republican donor who spent hundreds of millions of dollars in the GOP, he explains how he unfortunately served in the military in America, and his kids will be serving Israel. Okay? This is a real clip.
I am not Israeli. The uniform that I wore in the military, unfortunately, was not an Israeli uniform. It was an American uniform, although my wife was in the IDF, and one of my daughters was in the IDF, and my our two little boys, one of whom will be bar mitzvah tomorrow. Hopefully he'll come back. Thank you. Hopefully he'll come back. His hobby is shooting, and he'll come back and be a sniper for the IDF.
Trump gave his wife a Presidential Medal of Freedom. They donated hundreds of millions of dollars. So in that clip, he says, unfortunately, I served in the American military, but my kids will be serving Israel. Would it be fair to say that maybe that guy has more loyalty to Israel than America? Would that be fair to say? Guess what? Ben Shapiro says it's not fair to say. Even though he donates hundreds of millions of dollars and says that his kids will serve a different military and he unfortunately served America, Ben Shapiro says any American Jewish person like Sheldon Adelson, whether ethnic or religious, is loyal to America, not Israel. Just saying they have dual loyalty, even equal loyalty, is anti-Semitism. This is not just a Ben Shapiro opinion. Guys, this has been passed into law. The Republicans are selling out our First Amendment for donors. That's what's going on here. And PragerU and Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, they support this agenda over the American Constitution. And that's why our country continues to fail and continues to crumble, because you don't have a horse in the race. Your horses in the race are willing to give up your most, centerpiece amendment for a $100 million donor who admits that, and then they want to make it illegal for you to even say that they have loyalty where they have loyalty. How do people not get what's going on yet? It's so obvious. Do I need to play the clip again? I'm not trying to get... they're going to lie about me, even though I'm telling the truth. They've been lying about me for years. Do I need to play the clip again where the American Israeli Political Action Committee, the lobbyist group, brags about lobbying every politician? Let's play it again. Is this hate speech? I didn't put this up. The organization that lobbies both sides of politics put this up. I mean, how much more obvious could it get?
Please welcome Senate Democratic leader,
the Senate Republican leader.
Please welcome Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Please welcome Secretary of State.
I'm honored to introduce the Vice President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Please welcome back to the apex stage the Prime Minister of Israel.
From day one.
All right, I'm not going to play the whole clip, but they're like, it doesn't even matter who you put into office. They will do what we want. Is that a hate crime to say that? It's unbelievable. So once again, I'm going to keep doing this until somebody accepts my debate. I appreciate that you defended Candace Owens, Dennis Prager. He's getting a lot of heat from it. If you look at the comment sections of him defending Candace, he's got other Jewish activists being like, Dennis, you need to clamp down harder on Candace. Dennis, you're not going hard enough on her. What did Candace Owens do? Candace Owens is friends with Kanye West. Kanye West did a podcast. Candace Owens did nothing. And now they're trying to cancel Candace Owens for the crime of being friends with Kanye West. It's a real slave master mentality. We are going to economically, politically, and socially lynch the richest black man in modern history until he's broke, can't do anything, can't be on an Apple playlist, destroy his life completely ruin his name in the media, yet we're going to ignore the fact that other rappers are rapping about drugs and murder. That's fine, but don't be Kanye West. Candace Owens, we are going to try to destroy your life because you're friends with him. You need to condemn him even harder. Ben Shapiro, you didn't condemn him hard enough. Dennis Prager condemns him but supports Candace Owens, and now people are coming after Dennis Prager. You know, this is what's going on. There's no laws in America. I am a First Amendment advocate, okay? Do you know why? It's not because I'm hateful. Never said anything mean about Israelis. Never said anything mean or hurtful about Jewish people. That, you know. With that being said, I see what people who want to take away the First Amendment do. They say, oh, we're taking away the First Amendment for your health. We're going to take away the First Amendment so you can't talk about alternative medications. We're going to take away your First Amendment so you can't criticize lockdowns. We're going to take away your First Amendment because it's racist. We're going to take away your First Amendment so you can't criticize the vaccine industry. Why did they make it illegal to criticize vaccine industries in, on social media? Look how much money Big Pharma pays to the media. Look how much money Big Pharma, partners with stuff with Big Tech. Look how much money they're paying for politicians. Politicians aren't selling out to Big Pharma because they just love vaccines. They're selling out. They're getting paid. It's the same with the Israeli lobby. It's the same with Sheldon Adelson. They're getting paid. It's hundreds of millions of dollars funneling in. Next thing you know, Ron DeSantis and Trump are jumping up in the air passing speech laws. You think they're doing it for their own health or they just thought about it? No, they're copy pasting the Holocaust Memorial, whatever the organization is and I'm not being condescending. That's literally who created those speech laws. It's a copy paste. You can't say that Jewish people have media control. You can't say that any Jewish person has loyalty to Israel. You can't criticize Jewish people as a group. You can't say that Jews killed Jesus. You can't say that there's blood libel. Are there any other laws for any other race or religion anywhere at any time? Is that not part of the equation? If I'm Italian or I'm Christian and I pass a bunch of laws in America to say that you can't criticize my group, and then people start criticizing that and I throw my hands up and say that they're anti-Christian, you think that people are going to like me? This is what Dennis Prager can't fathom, okay? I don't want anybody to hurt anybody. I don't want anybody to lose the ownership that they worked hard to deserve. I don't want any innocent people of any group to have to suffer, whether it be black, white, Asian, Jewish, Christian, Muslim. I don't want anybody to suffer. But the truth is, that's a very sneaky, deceptive thing to do, and people don't have to like you. If you live in a black neighborhood where the crime rate is skyrocketing, and everybody, Jewish, black, white, everybody sees that the crime rate is skyrocketing, and then LeBron James gets on his knees on camera and says Black Lives Matter, that doesn't make you a racist for noticing that black neighborhood over there that you might live in has an astronomically high crime rate. So what I'm saying is you could censor people's speech. You can tell everybody that they're racist if they don't want to get on their knees for George Floyd. But the truth is, everybody's not responsible for the criminals in major cities, but everybody recognizes the trends, and the best way to earn people's respect in this country is by getting your community and organization together so it's a place that people want to go instead of a place that people want to flee. And that same logic applies to the Jewish people, where you can't just quash people's criticism, call everything anti-Semitic, claim that you don't have ownership in a lot of stuff when you obviously do have ownership in a lot of stuff, support speech laws that stop people from saying that, and then throw your hands up and cry World War II when people notice that you're lying. That's not a way to earn everybody's respect. Doesn't mean anybody should be mean or rude or hateful or violent. Of course not. I condemn all sorts of violence and ignorant hate. But you need self-accountability. And Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro want to be sneaky, deceptive, spend their whole lives supporting their own people and supporting Israel, supporting speech laws in America that quash criticism of Israel, saying that every person of their race and religion has to be loyalty to America, and then supporting a speech law that basically makes that a crime or a violation in certain accounts, and then saying that they're not doing that. How is that helping their people? What Dennis Prager's doing and what Ben Shapiro's doing is getting my Jewish friends in trouble. People that have nothing to do with it. I have dozens of Jewish friends that have nothing to do with the sneaky, slimy deceptiveness of Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro. And by being so sneaky, slimy, and deceptive and saying that there's no collusion while you're literally doing exactly what everybody knows you're doing, that's not a way to help your own people. That's about as helpful as burning down Minneapolis in the name of George Floyd and saying you help black people. It's not helping. You know what I'm saying? It's not helping anybody. So, everybody has to have self-accountability and self-awareness, left-wing, right-wing, Christian, Muslim, Jew. But the biggest deception in the right wing right now is that hundreds of millions of dollars are flowing in from Jewish donors who are talking about how much they love Israel, but you're not allowed to talk about it. Most of the major right-wing organizations like PragerU, TPUSA, and Daily Wire are absolutely on their knees for Israel, and none of them want to question the speech laws. I don't care if you love Israel. God bless Israelis, God bless Israel, and God bless Jewish people around the world. But this is America, okay? And passing a speech law for a foreign country that says you're not allowed to say that you have more loyalty to the country than my country is a joke, okay? Because if you're willing, whether you're Christian, there's many Christian Zionists who have, put their worship of Israel over their own country. If you pass a speech law in the United States of America that says that you can't criticize a foreign country or you can't talk about a group of people, you absolutely are more loyal to that group than America, because a good Jew in America will support the First Amendment. A good Christian in America will support the First Amendment. A good black person, a good white person, whatever. Either you support the First Amendment or you sell it out to a foreign country. So the irony of what they're doing is this exact, I'm going to read it again so people can process it and figure out what's going on here. Ben Shapiro says, American Jews, doesn't matter who you are, ethnic, religious, in any sense, you have to be loyalty to America, and anybody questioning if you have loyalty to Israel is an anti-Semite, okay? This is being passed into legislation. And the irony of it, if you support a speech law that says this over the First Amendment, you have loyalty to that country, or else you'd support it. And that's what the right-wing organization is. I don't care if you're an honest Zionist and you support the state of Israel. I understand the complex issues. Palestinians are pissed. Israelis are pissed. They say they stole the land. They say they're doing this. I'm not an expert on the region. I understand the dynamic. But what I'm saying is, if you're a Zionist, in my opinion, there should be discussion in the right wing just like there's the left wing. You should be able to love and worship Israel. You should be able to visit there and love your friends there. You should be able to, I don't have a problem with people who like Israel. I have a problem with people who put Zionism over Americanism. You can be, it's like you can't really serve two masters. If I like America and I like Italy, but I'm willing to pass laws in America that say you can't criticize Italy, that means I have more loyalty to Italy than America. And what you see is, I'm reading all these comments under the things. People are like, oh my gosh, I need to go fly to Israel. I'm so afraid I'm going to fly to Israel. It's like they can't wait to just fly to the country that they have more loyalty to. I'm not saying everybody does, and I understand the historical dynamic. I don't want anyone to get hurt, but if you want to be honest, like, everybody's getting hurt in American cities, Jews, Asians, white people, because it's not safe there anymore because crime's through the roof. So that's like a number one pressing issue for all of us. But besides that, it's like, you get what I'm saying? You can't serve two masters when it comes to the First Amendment. Either you support it or you don't. And if you're willing to pass a law against it, that means you support that over America. It's very simple. Someone said, I support Israel. I don't care. There's nothing wrong with that. But the question is, are you willing to sell out the First Amendment of America? Are you willing to say the First Amendment's imperfect, and what we really need is a law to say that Jews didn't kill Jesus? What we really need is a law to say you can't talk about media power. What we really need in America is a religious speech law that provides ethnic people without a religion and doesn't even include Christianity. Because I consider these anti-Semitism laws anti-Christian and anti-American. You want to play that game? They're anti-Christian. How can you pass a religious law that doesn't include my religion? I'm getting the short end of this stick. You can destroy whatever you want in my religion, but I'm not even allowed to question your religion. This is not fair. So you can support Israel. There's nothing wrong with that. But do you support Zionism over the American Constitution? If you do, then you're like the rest of the Republican Party. The Republican Party is a Zionist first party. They are willing to sell out your country, sell out your First Amendment, and jump when they say how high for their donor class and a foreign country. They're willing to, infringe on the First Amendment for that group of people. That's just the truth. I don't know any other way to put it. So in my opinion, not everyone's going to have this opinion, because Palestinians and Israelis are fighting all the time. God bless both sides. I hope they can figure it out. But not everyone's going to say what I'm going to say, but this is my true belief. There's nothing wrong with supporting Israel. There's something wrong with selling out your own country for them. That's the problem. And Prager, TPUSA, Shapiro, Daily, they all do it. And if you don't do it, they treat you like Kanye West. They publicly lynch you to say, you are Louis Farrakhan. Let's play a Louis Farrakhan game real quick. I don't have the video loaded up. Let's watch a video of Louis Farrakhan about the vaccine in 2020, and then watch a video of Ben Shapiro on the vaccine. I'm not a fan of Louis Farrakhan. I don't agree with all of his rhetoric, and I'm not black or Muslim, so, Nation of Islam, so it's not like my thing. Believe it or not, I'm not like I don't think Farrakhan's like the biggest fan of me per se. But with that being said, Farrakhan's take on the vaccine was better than Ben Shapiro's take on the vaccine. So, Ben Shapiro says, oh, he's an anti-Semite, everybody's Louis Farrakhan. What does that mean, though? Are you talking about Louis Farrakhan's views on race and religion, or are you talking about his views on vaccine? Because if you call Candace Owens Louis Farrakhan, technically that's better than being a Ben Shapiro on vaccines, because Ben Shapiro's take on vaccines was terrible and fake and dishonest, and he got tricked by the government and the media. So it's like, even my least favorite people in politics, you have to just break down issue by issue. You could say, I hate that guy, but you're going to now say Candace Owens is Louis Farrakhan because she's friends with Kanye West and she needs to be destroyed. You're publicly lynching any black Republican that won't bow down to Zionism first. And Zionism first means you pass speech laws for Israel, you pass speech laws for religious Jews, and you pass speech laws for non-religious Jews. That's what it is. I've studied this, and I'm going to do a public, anybody that wants to say I'm hateful when I'm not, I got hundreds of Israelis watching me. I have a lot of Jewish friends. I have a lot of people in Israel who know what I'm saying is true. I'm willing to debate any influencer in right-wing politics about the speech laws. I know all about it. I've studied it for tens of hours. In those laws, Ron DeSantis passed it in Florida and said this is religious protection. It didn't include my religion. How is it a religious protection bill? They're putting these anti-Semitism laws and sneaking it under religious protection, but it doesn't include my religion. So it's not a religious protection. And if you read the laws, most of them have nothing to do about the religion of Judaism. It doesn't say religious. It says you can't criticize this. You can't criticize that. It's for non-religious atheist Jewish people as well. I don't specifically care what your religion is. I'm just saying, how are you going to pass a religious bill that doesn't even include all religions, but also supports people who aren't religious? It's not a religious bill. It's an Israeli loyalty bill. And that's what Congress is. If you look at certain speech violations they pass against the First Amendment, every single person in Congress votes yes, and there's always one person who votes no. Can anybody guess who votes no? Anybody? I'm gonna read the comments. Who's the only politician in all of Congress and all of the House who votes no against these garbage infringements and false rules that they're passing? Ron Paul, maybe when he was in, but I'm talking about a current person in Congress. He's currently there. I'll give you a hint. He was the only, Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey's the only one. When they pass these anti-Semitism speech rules, you'll see 400 to 1 or 300, however many people there are. It's the only person who stands up against it is Thomas Massey. And coincidentally, the only person to stand up against the lockdown was Thomas Massey. When they were locking our country down in America, both parties, there was only one politician who stood up and said, this is a huge mistake. What they're doing, printing trillions of dollars and not even taking the tally of who voted yes or no. He said it was the biggest scandal in modern history. And Thomas Massey was right. So coincidentally, the only politician in all of Washington to stand up against the lockdowns is also the only one, not dozens, not your favorite senator one. He's the only one. And then they'll be like, oh my God, you hate all people. I believe in the First Amendment. And I'm going to wrap up with this because I could talk about this forever.